Oh, we are live.
Oh yeah, here we are.
I always love chatting with you. But
That's nice.
before we go, well, we are live, but I am going to post this video on my Facebook page so even more people will see it. But how are you doing? I like to start off with how are you doing because we're in a very special time.
I'm
And I
fine.
just feel like that's the best way to start life now, by saying, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing fine now, and I'm also supposed to put this on all my pages so that most people are going to be watching us. And I'm doing really fine. Recently, this COVID just changed a lot of things in perspective about my work, and I'm just rescheduling everything and working more than I supposed to, or not supposed to, that I used to, with this lockdown thing, that staying at home, like home office. I hate home office. I just don't want to do home offices anymore because like, it pisses me off.
Well, I'm used to home office because I am a freelance journalist I've always worked from home. So this isn't any different for me.
No, I understand that home office is something that I used to do as well, but not like this. Like now I'm working like double as much as I used to work. I say that. Well, seriously, I can show you my wall here. I have so much stuff going on.
So let me introduce you. Okay. Some of you guys, if you're already subscribed to my YouTube channel, you probably have already seen AD Jr. because AD Jr. and I did the most popular channel on my YouTube channel called The Whitening of Brazil. That was a good title, I have to admit.
Yeah, I remember that.
The Whitening of Brazil. And like that video has gotten 90,000 views on the channel. So I want to thank you for doing that interview that happened about 2 years ago. And I want to thank you for coming here. Let me introduce you to AD Jr. So why is AD here? We're here to talk about Black new media in Brazil. And he's going to explain to us what Black new media is, but this is actually a very new term for Brazil because combining Black with anything is actually something that they just don't do. In America, we do that all. Let me give you background on his background. So AD Jr. is a communicator and digital influencer who's an expert in combating racism and prejudice in the media. He works as a digital marketing specialist, and he's a creator of the Portal Historia, and also is a new presenter of the program Trace Trends that airs on Hedgie TV. Through his social media channels, he consults on diversity strategy and racial issues for large companies in Brazil, such as Global, Condé Nast, Coca-Cola Brazil. I do encourage you to subscribe, like Google AD Jr. anywhere, subscribe to his YouTube, his Facebook. He's always breaking down racism in Brazil. We need you to do more videos in English because you speak English perfectly, okay?
Not perfectly. I tried to do my best. It's very difficult anyway. But yeah, thank you for your introduction. Very, very glad to be here, to be invited to talk about Black media in Brazil, because it's something pretty new, as you mentioned. Because Black Brazilians are not very used to it. It's like, well, what is Black media? Isn't that all? So the other day, a person asked me, isn't that racist to have a Black channel? And I was like, well, let me tell you something. When you think about the TV channels that we have a lot of Walmart TV shows in Brazil and Walmart channels. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're American, because you have so many channels that like pretty much like, this is such a white channel. But in Brazil, we don't say that. In Brazil, like, no, it's not like that. This is how Brazil works. Yeah, racially racist. That's it. So what we're doing now in Brazil is just to bring this new term and make people understand what we are about. We are about changing perspectives and bringing more of the Black content into action, so the Black Brazilians will see themselves represented in a very good way, not in a biased way, but we want to create more content that actually can mirror or show what the reality is of being a black person, but not being only saying bad things about what's going on in Brazil with black Brazilians. We want to say positive. We want to bring positive. We want to bring empowerment, entertainment, and also to project the future that we want.
And also, before I start, I want you guys to always keep this number in your head. Brazil is more than 50% black. Of 200, I think Brazil has about 210 million people. More than 50% of the population is black. But before we even talk about just like your history with black media, tell us, what is the state of media in Brazil? Like, if I turn on Global, what am I going to see? If I turn on Record, what am I going to see on television?
Well, I can show you right now.
On their Twitter feeds, on their Facebook feeds.
What I can show you right now, we can go to CNN Brazil because it's a new TV now that we're having.
Here, one night, you don't worry about doing anything. I'll do all the work. I'll go to CNN Brazil website and I'll share it.
Okay, so you go to CNN Brazil right now, you're going to see what's happening right now. CNN Brazil is a channel where you can see basically 4 black people in the whole 24/7. You see, yeah, can you try to go to YouTube channel of CNN Brazil and
okay.
Because they do have a live feed because they are showing as they're giving people a little bit of this feeling of what CNN is, because CNN in Brazil is pretty new now. And they have this live, and then you're gonna see. Let's see how many black people we're gonna encounter right now.
Oh well, let me hold on. Let me turn the volume down. Okay, so we're looking. This is live on CNN right now. CNN Brazil.
Yeah, now we have 2 ex-ministers of health discussing the medicine that the president wants to put in practice. This is called chloroquina. Everybody knows that chloroquine. I don't know, how do you say that in English? What is the name?
Chloroquine.
Chloroquine. Yeah, the chloroquine. This is Arthur Choro and Ricardo Barros talk about the new protocols on how to use chloroquine in Brazil. Here you're seeing a debate 360. This is pretty much what you're going to see in Brazil. These are 2 politicians talking about Brazil. They don't look like Brazil at all. They look like Europe. And this is how media is in Brazil. Just wait to see when they go to the reporters and the journalists, so that you can just fall down and see like, oh my gosh, what is that? So this is pretty much how media in Brazil looks like. Media in Brazil looks like, can you click on?
And actually, we can see the reporters here. We can see the reporters on the channel.
Oh, because you had just something very interesting over there. Like, yeah, okay. So you see the reporters. You do have my good friend Luciana Barreto. You have Eduardo Carvalho, which is also my friend, and you also have another girl that I don't know her personally, but the other 2 main black characters or journalists in CNN Brazil, they are black. Oh, this is Luciana Barreto, a very good friend of mine. This is it. You're going to have 4 black people on CNN Brazil because Brazil is such a racist country. Because they don't say that. They don't say that. Look, she's amazing. She's one of the best journalists in the country. Very awarded, fully awarded. Very nice that she is. She was on prime time. Anyway, it was just an example of CNN Brazil, just to give you a little bit of a taste of what Brazilian media looks like. Very white, and seeing that, I was raised like this. I was raised watching this, and it was crazy.
I mean, tell us about growing up in Brazil in the 90s. Like, what did you see on TV? What were you consuming as a black Brazilian in the 90s?
Okay, can you put it again in YouTube and Google Xuxa so that people understand what I'm gonna say?
Okay.
Yeah, just like I like to give people example of what really was what was going on in Brazil at the time. Because if you just start telling people might not be able to believe this, but this is how Brazil was represented in the 90s. You had Xuxa e as Paquitas, if you can Google that. This is gonna be. It was pretty much a white lady. You have several white ladies. Oh, this is the 90s in Brazil. This is Xuxa in the 90s. And she had a program from 1986 when I was born until 2001 or 4. And Shusha, and it's not only this lady. Every morning, telling kids how to be nice, how to play, how to dance. You also have her helpers. They used to be called Paquitas. Can you go to Shusha and Paquitas? Shusha and
Okay.
Paquitas. So you see those girls, Paquitas. Yeah, exactly. Oh Lord, the third video. The third video is amazing.
Third video. Okay, hold
The
on.
third video you have that is amazing. That was pretty much how Brazil was in the 90s. That was the TV show. Just go a little. Yeah, that's what you're seeing. That's Brazil in the 90s. Ladies and gentlemen, the Paquitas, the helpers of Xuxa on a TV show. Only blonde girls will be chosen to be her helpers, and the whole country would stop every year when they would choose the new girl on TV, the new face of Paquitas on TV. And this is pretty much this. This is a TV show on Sunday called Domingão no Faustão, and you will see this blonde girls all the time. You're not talking about Sweden. You're not talking about Norway. You're not talking about Denmark. This is Brazil in the 90s, showing what beautiful was. This is Xuxa, the Paquitas, and so many other blonde girls. You had Angelica in another channel. This is only global channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is global channel. Then you have SBT with Jaqueline Petkovic. You had Angelica on Manchete.
Mm-hmm.
You had so many blonde girls, and one girl that was an indigenous girl. Her name was Mara Maravilha, and she was pretty much about the indigenous girl. But we never had the black girl. The black girl that Xuxa, this presenter, had was a black girl. Was called Xuxa Bombom. And she was dancing Boquinha da Garrafa. Can you put that Xuxa and
Oh gosh, no.
Xuxa and Bonbon, like Bonbon, Boquinha, põe Boquinha da Garrafa. This is what you're gonna see, Bonbon e Boquinha. Put something like Xuxa, no, Xuxa. Oh yes.
Her? I don't see the
Yeah.
Bonbon.
Bonbon is her. Yeah, is this girl? I think. Just go a little. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Bonbon, Adriana Bonbon, dancing, which was the black girl. Here she's fully dressed. This is pretty much what they would say. Oh,
But
an
okay,
exotic,
so and
exotic
I want to
black girl.
remind our audience that if you have any questions, please post them on the comment section. I'm taking questions as we do our interview, so don't wait until the end. Just throw your questions out there. So, AD Jr., you're a young black man in the 90s. What are you thinking when you see this? Are you like this is Brazil for you?
I haven't seen myself represented at all in Brazil. If you had a black girl, she had to be like this, dancing like blah, 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 blah. And all the white girls, they were like, oh, so sweet, good, ma. And the black girls dancing like this, like all the like can you go YouTube Globeleza. Can you put us Globeleza? Still in the 90s in Brazil. Globeleza.
Hold on.
Just put Globeleza. Valeria Valença. Maybe you put Valeria and then you're gonna find. Yeah. That's Valeria Valença. And then you had just go a little further. Then you had this, this. Then you had this. Every carnival, this girl will be naked. She's 100% naked. Okay, she's not half naked. They just painted her body, and she was naked every carnival, dancing in front the biggest black audience outside Africa. This is what they did with black women in Brazil. They put a stereotype on Black women. Look, she's naked. She is naked. Oh, Lord Jesus, you said that in your church if you go to church on Sunday. And then you're very Christian. That's what you would say. But this is pretty much how they portrayed Black people in Brazil, as exotic, as something like, oh, and that nasty man besides her is them other man, the European that is her husband.
Let's just tell me, what are your parents? Are your parents like not allowing you to watch this? Were your parents trying to say like, here's some Black media?
No, we didn't have anything. We didn't have anything talking about us in a positive way. This is how you were raised in Brazil. Look at this. Black people would be just shown as exotic, or either they would have a TV show about slavery, totally misguided information with so many blur ideas of what the whole thing was, or you had that every carnival teaching us that the Black woman, actually, when they decided to change this girl for another one in the beginning of the 2000s, they decided to put we are still here enforcing the misogynistic idea that Black women would be like just a trophy, an object that need to be admired and sexualized. And then when they decided to change this girl into another one with a darker skin, oh no, hell broke loose. People started to say that she looked like a monkey, that she shouldn't be like that. To be beautiful, she should have like a lighter skin. So that's exactly how Brazil was. Brazil, very, very, very racist country.
But how is it okay, here's the thing that I don't think Americans or maybe even people outside of America don't understand. If Brazil is 50% Black, then how is it possible that any media company can succeed without showing Black people on television?
Okay, so I just can give you guys the story that's totally different. After the abolishment of the slavery in the United States and also the Civil War in the United States, you had pretty much one idea in the United States. So like you created the HBCUs, the Black University, the Black historically Black colleges and universities. Yeah, you had those. We never had those. We never had those. So if you started to treat Black people, okay, you had a very unfair system in South United States. It was very unfair. It was very bad. I understand that. It wasn't really nice for none of us in whole Americas. But in the United States, imagine that you guys had in numbers enslaved 500,000 people. Isn't that the number accurate? 500,000 people, 500,000 people were enslaved.
400,000. Well, there were 400,000 people, enslaved Africans brought to America. Obviously, there were more enslaved people, but there were 400,000 enslaved Africans were brought to the United States.
In Brazil, we have 5 million.
Yeah,
and the system was much harder. It wasn't like it was hard for both of us, but in Brazil, it was like they would kill us just because they would think we were lazy, and they would break us down totally. They would break us down. They would stripe our names, stripe our heritage, and there wasn't an idea of educating Black people. So you did not provide education to these Black people in the end of slavery. To be quite honest, in 1838 in Brazil, we established the first law that prohibited Black people to be part of or to be how do you say that? Not system in Brazil, and then afterwards we started with the eugenic ideas that Black people were not so intelligent, so we didn't need to educate them. So, so differently from the Protestants in the United States, that you had a Black church that would help the Black community. In Brazil, Black people couldn't have their own groups. Getting together because the whites, they said they are too many. So if they start meeting, they're going to kill us all like they did in Haiti. So what did they did to us? They said like, you know what? I'm going to separate you guys. I'm going to separate you guys. And not providing education, money, or any other social ways for you guys to grow and interact with yourselves. You're going to be a victim of a system that we will play with you guys. And they did. They did for a long time. Imagine you that after the slavery was abolished, Brazil was the last country to abolish slavery. Brazil did not pay any reparations or anything, or even the Catholic Church. You see, sometimes you talk about United States and you see that you have like a church, the schools for Black people were not as equal for white people.
Not as equal.
And it was not as equal.
But they still received quality education.
But they did receive some education. Black Brazilians, they did not receive any education whatsoever. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't go to school. And we're not talking about 100 years ago. We were talking about the until mid-century, 20th century, like the mid-century for the last century.
So basically you're saying that Black Brazilians didn't have Black colleges to go to, and they pretty much couldn't go to school until probably when we're saying school, we're not talking about colleges. We're talking about just school, period.
School
Majority of Black Brazilians couldn't go to school until probably the 1950s and 60s, maybe even 70s.
Exactly. So why in the United States? Whereas in the United States, you guys were discussing affirmative actions. In Brazil, we were trying to say that here, listen, after slavery, you didn't give us even the chance to sit down and talk. Think about it. We have the what we call in the Black Party in Brazil, and it was considered illegal in 1937 because some Black people started, okay, if you're not providing us education or anything, what we're going to do is we're going to create our own churches, our own schools, and the government of Brazil just said it was illegal because we are all equal. They say like we're all equal. We're all equal, but it was not. Whereas everything was happening, the Catholic Church was implementing schools for white immigrants that were invited and given land and money in the country. So if you ask me why, if Brazil had 50% of the Black population, then how can any media survive without showing Black people? We never have ever access to have the technology, the money, or even the position to ask any questions in a country that was denying and telling the whole world it was a racial democracy until mostly the 90s, where we started this discussion. And with the social media, boom, exploded, and we started to tell our stories ourselves.
So that actually, I'm going to jump slightly ahead because we actually have a great question from one of our viewers, from Jorginho. He asked, so is it just Blacks starting to do their own thing, own media, or others like Asians, Indigenous? With social media, Black people are oops.
Okay, can you repeat the question because I just lost you for a second?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I lost you. Okay. So, I can hear myself. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hear you.
Is your hold on one second. I hear a feedback. How's it sound now?
Better. It's good.
Oh man, I still hear a feedback. Hold on one second. Okay, maybe this is better.
Okay,
so Jorginho, your question is getting a little ahead of us, but I like to include the audience as soon as I get a question. Jorginho asks, was it just Blacks starting to do their own media? Or are there others like Asians, Indigenous creating their own media?
Okay, I think the first question that we need to answer here is like how we're talking about this. We're talking about 50% of our population in a country that were enslaved and brought to another country. Okay, Asians were not brought as slaves to another country, and Indigenous people, they were massacred, and we put them in reservoirs and little places where they would live that we or they, the Europeans, would think that is the most civilized way to let them live in their land and not be interacting with the Western world. With the Blacks, it was totally different. With the Blacks, they brought us to the Americans. We created the whole wealth. And after the abolition of slavery, they started shooting us. Shooting us and saying, you're not part of this. But we couldn't go back to Africa because we were here for 400 years already. And then we started to create our own ideas. So if you talk about Asian Asian people creating their own TV. My question, they have a country to go back. They can go to Korea, they can go to Japan, they can go to Thailand, they can go back. But because they still know they can assimilate where they come from. We do not assimilate where we come from because there's too many people that were brought to the Americas. And all these people now were called Americans. You know, you don't have like, your name is Kiratiana Freeland. You're not Kiratiana Akoye.
That's
like,
true.
oh, because I belong to the Akoye people. And, you know, you're not, you know. So the idea of creating our own media, it's like, if you're an Asian person, like we have a TV, we have Asian TVs, like we have Al Jazeera, for instance, from Qatar, which is talking about news from Middle East. They created it because they have money and they want to present another perspective on the news. And this is something they can do. Arang from Korea can create news in English about what's going on. There is also another channel from Singapore that is talking about news from. Do you understand? If you go to New Zealand, you're gonna have some TV shows or some channels that are broadcasting only in Maori, because in that country, that's the reality. In the Americas, where they created the whole idea of capitalism working, okay, the capitalism ideas they can do here, but anyway, so. But where they apply the idea of creating wealth was in the Americas. They put us here for 400 years to work for free. They gave us nothing, no reparations. And that's why we need to create our own ideas, on medias, on TV shows, on radios. We would never be talking about Beyonce today if we wouldn't have had Motown in the beginning of the 20th century. Because imagine, you had to have a space to create new music to put your on. Or think about Blue Note in the 30s in New York, bringing the jazz music to work and putting together with some Jewish people that were like also ostracized from society. And they created the whole idea of putting this thing to work. And not saying that this music is degenerate music, as the Nazi or the racist would say in the beginning of the 20th century. So why do we need this? We need this to put our voice out, to create our own interpretation of the story. Because if we still have white people telling the story of society, we will still have the colonizer saying how the whole thing worked out and not us. And that's the big thing. Having Black media in the Americas is very important for us to start putting the dots in the eyes and showing them and telling them why you guys are telling the story. We have another thing to say. What you're saying is not true because we've been here. You never gave us ticket to go back to Wakanda.
That's true.
You didn't give us ticket to go to Wakanda. You need us in the Americas, because if you're not here in the Americas, you're not gonna have your super wealthy things. Sometimes you choose one Black of us to be your NBA basketball player, to be your singer, to be your dancer, but in the end, you're killing 90% of our people and shooting us when we are running in our neighborhoods just because we're on a jog. That's what you're doing. That's why we need Black media.
Okay. So before we get to Brazilian Black media,
Asians
that actually is a good segue into my next question. U.S. Black media has been around for a while, and I think you did a really great job explaining to us why we have U.S. Black media. We had segregation, and Black people in America had access to education, access to money. My question to you is, do Black Afro-Brazilians consume Black media from the U.S.? If so, what? How does it even get to Brazil?
Okay. Yes, Brazilians, they did consume a lot of Black entertainment from the United States, and it started by the middle to the end of the 90s.
Really? So the mid-90s was when you started to see American Black media.
Exactly. That's when SBT, the second biggest, then today's the third.
Not now.
Then the second biggest, largest Brazilian network, they brought the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah, that's when they brought it by the end of the 90s. Yeah, 97. 98, they brought it and people started to consume this and you started to see a black wealthy family, which was for most of black people like, oh, crazy. Look how crazy. Americans are crazy. I mean, imagine a black person living in a house like that. I mean, so that's when we started to watch, mostly by SBT. When they brought it, then later they brought Me, My Wife, and My Kids. Is that another show?
Yes, that is a show.
That is a show, Me, My Wife, My Kids. And then with the evangelicals that were pretty much around the black community in the beginning of the 90s, when they started this, the white Christians that came to Brazil, the white Southern Baptist Church, white racist fuckers came to Brazil in the end of the, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can't say that. It's a black media on this channel, isn't it? So I'm going to say that. Those fuckers, those people, they came to Brazil to present the gospel to us. And what did they do? They brought us black songs with the white. Imagine yourself watching the Clark sisters singing and Joyce Meyer's preaching. Does it make sense to you?
Wait a minute, you're saying they were showing the Clark sisters and then they would show Joyce Meyer?
That's what I'm saying. Ron Canoli here, which is not as black as we speak. It's more Fred Hammond, Kirk Franklin, Joel Osteen, Jimmy Swagger, and I don't know. I'm out of singers now. I'm Marvin Shepard, whatever. So they would do this. They would do this. So the black people started like, oh, that's so nice to have Jesus in my heart. But who was preaching was fucking Billy Graham. So how could you understand what was going on in America if you were illiterate about racism in United States, understanding that the black church in United States was something completely different from what they were teaching you. So black Brazilians started to get very into that MTV Brazil, which was pretty racist, by the way.
Really? MTV Brazil? What? Does MTV Brazil even still exist?
No, they do still. But it was pretty racist at the time. They wouldn't have a black VJ, and they had one, and then they changed for another one. It was a house of white people having a lot of power to do and say and bringing those cool young people, doing stuff, all white. And to be quite honest, they had two VJs in the whole story of MTV Brazil that were black. Two. So think about it. So do you think they would have?
What about BET? Come on now. Did BET make it to Brazil?
BET never black Brazilians don't even know what BET is.
BET never made it to Brazil?
Never, ever. Although there were efforts to bring BET from the beginning on. Okay. BET never arrived in the country.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So that brings me to my next question. When did you notice that there were inklings of what we would call a black media in Brazil? Like, when did everything start changing?
Well, when did I notice?
Yeah, when let's say you notice, and when did everybody start to actually think, wow, there's lots of black media out here? Or when did
the black we had a few black literate people that would tell the story that Brazilian wasn't a racial democracy, that this was hell for black people, you should watch it, but they were always silenced. And then when we started to talk about how black people were portrayed, they started to say we need black media in the country. But
what years is this? When is this?
Oh, we had in the beginning of the 50s already. We had I'll say 58, 59. You had already Abdias do Nascimento saying things like that. He started with Teatro Experimental do Negro, Black Experimental theater. That was something that would project to a television for sure. But these people were always like, oh, that's exotic, that's interesting, that's amazing, that's culturally cool, this black militants, but not like the Americans, because in America they are in America, the white Americans are very, very, very bad, mean. The white Brazilians are not. We're nice. You know? You can sit in a restaurant with me if you want. If you have money. Do you understand? Do you understand? The layers of racism in Brazil are more subtle to understand for a foreigner. You understand? So the whole thing, like I see a lot of Americans, black Americans, they come to visit Brazil and they're like, oh, I want to visit Brazil, it's such an amazing country, so nice, and the coconut water and the favelas. And no, what you're seeing is an apartheid system of oppression. Wake up. Wake up. This is what you're seeing. You're now seeing them. You're like in 1992 in South Africa, just watching what's going on. And the black people protesting, and João Pedro being killed yesterday. You know, you saw the news. 14
and actually, I mean, you're actually,
strangely
enough, give me, I just want you to explain what happened briefly, because since you are Brazilian, and I just feel like a Brazilian should be telling our audience what happened. Who is John Pedro? I'm gonna bring him up on this website. So
João Pedro was a 14-year-old kid that lived in the outskirts of Rio in a favela, and then the cops came because they do raids sometimes, and they go to the favela looking for drug dealers. And this 14-year-old kid, very sweet, very cute, he was shot inside his home, and the police took his body and put it in a helicopter, and his body just vanished for a couple of hours, for a long time actually, because the police just took him and put him in a helicopter. And what we know, as far as we know, his body would never appear if the black artists, I can include myself on it, we started a campaign online to ask where is his body, and pushing our friends on media to say, hey, there is a 14-year-old kid that was missing. He was shot from his home. All the phones from the house were taken, okay, by the cops. And then last morning, I was so devastated yesterday. I didn't even do like posts yesterday. And yesterday I was starting my TV show and I didn't even post anything because I was so upset. And then the cops, they said later on that his body was delivered to the morgue because he died. But it was like more than 20 hours after his body was taken from the favela. What the police said first is that this person was shooting back the cops, and that's why he was killed. A 14-year-old kid. Anyway, so that's the story. Brazil is not different from the United States. We just need to understand each other more. The only problem is that we don't speak the same language. If black Brazilians would be able to speak English, or if you could understand Portuguese, we would be stronger together, because we would understand each other's pains much easier and much more. The point is that we don't understand each other, and we have misconceptions about each other. Black Brazilians think all the black Americans are wealthy.
That's true, and they are not.
And they are not. And and for me and my family,
and actually, I feel like Black Americans think all Black Brazilians are mixed race,
which is not true.
Yeah.
I'll look at myself.
But that's the image that we've been fed, that all Black Brazilians are mixed race. So tell me about this Black new media in Brazil. Like, what is it? How can I access it?
Okay, so let's talk about Black media in Brazil. So as you know, I was always discussing about this online. I was always bringing this idea up. We need to have Black media. We need have Black media. And I know that you remember 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago.
What?
For so long? No. 4 years ago. 4 years
What
ago.
happened?
I asked you to translate, to correct.
That was just 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Oh, was it?
What is okay? Wait a minute. 2 years. I think it was 2 years ago.
No, it was 2017. It was 3 years ago.
Oh
It's
wow.
been so long. And I asked you, I 5 years ago, I started with the project. 3 years ago, I asked you to rearrange that thing that I was creating a business plan for bringing a TV to Brazil, a black TV to Brazil. And people like, oh, you're crazy.
Mhm.
But because I do have very nice friends, they were like, oh, Junior, I will present you to everyone and let's see what happened. And then I came to Brazil with this idea to start a black TV in Brazil, to bring BET first. Had some discussions with people who knew people that know people. Anyway, but I knew that something was already going on with people trying to bring, how's it called? To bring BET to Brazil. So I was trying also to discuss with these people. Well, that didn't work out, but I tried very hard. But then some investor looking for, that was involved with the idea of bringing black media to Brazil, and he said, you know what, let's bring Junior into this project. And then I became pretty much a COO,
Mhm.
but a CMO. I'm sorry, CMO of the project. And now I'm the CMO of the project called Trace Brazil, which is the new cable TV that is coming into Brazil with black entertainment. By now, we're just gonna have a lot of musical clips because we can't record much, and we already have to deliver the channel, and we can record much. We have a lot of musical clips like MTV before. Oh, this is our YouTube channel. Oh, so nice.
Oh, where do you want to click on? Oh my gosh, I just discovered this girl, Agnes Nunes.
Oh, she's good, isn't she?
discovered
Yeah. And we started now a TV show at Rede TV. It's open air every Tuesdays at 10:30 Brazilian time. And then we're gonna start a TV show, and we're gonna start a TV channel now next month. The first black-owned Brazilian TV, and I'm part of the idea, and I'm part of the corporative management of this big media that is Trace. Trace is the biggest channel in Africa, entertainment in Africa. France is also present in France, Portugal, UK, Belgium, and I'm very glad to be part of this project. I'm very excited.
Tell me about Brazil, but also tell me about how Trace Brazil is part of a larger movement, like a larger movement of black media or black media. Tell me about what's going on. What actually brought us to the point where Brazil can actually have a black television station?
Yeah, what happened is that in the beginning of the 2000s, we had a big movement, a broader movement to bring people to universities, and it was called the affirmative actions in Brazil, as you guys had in the United States in the 60s and so on. And then a lot of black people started to see themselves portrayed in universities in the wrong way, outside universities. So I know. So we started to talk about how Brazil. Can you go to our Instagram account? That would be
okay. Sure.
Our Instagram account.
Your Instagram or Trace Brazil?
Trace Brazil. So people want, they can follow. So, and then we started to think about how to bring more representation. And this is our page. If you want to follow, there it is. Oh, that's me. You see. It's me. And then we started with news medias like Mundo Negro, Todos os Negros do Mundo. Mundo Negro is the oldest one. They have 20 years. There are 20 years there. Geledes. We have a lot of new websites. There are portals for education and journalism, explaining a little bit about the black culture, the black ideas, the black news, and okay, yeah, from there, we started to think about radios that we want to bring, and now we have a group, an army of Black people coming out of universities and being able to start new businesses, understanding that we need to have power, we need to be in power of our own story, and we need to start right now, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're very happy about that. This is it. Yeah.
And tell me about, like, I know that a couple of years ago, you were part of a new movement of Black YouTubers who were reaching larger YouTubers and Facebookers who were reaching just hundreds of thousands of people online. Can you tell me about that new movement of like how Black YouTubers kind of brought this element of Black new media to Brazil?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you tell me, if you want me to look up any specific channels, we can look up your channel.
Oh, yeah. You can start looking at my channel, but then from there, you're going to see other links because I'm linked to other channels as well. 5 years ago, I started my YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel became fairly successful. 68K, that's what we have there, but we have much more people watching, like 2 million something per year is a lot of people. And then I started to talk about structural racism, slavery. I started to tell our stories of the Black people. And so far, it was very successful, but I wasn't the only one. We started a WhatsApp group and a Facebook group with Black Brazilians talking about our Black history. And so many names: Ana Paula Xongani, Nathalie Neri, Preta Rara, Tia Ma, Yuri Marçal, oh my gosh, Gabi de Pretas, so many Black people. And together combined, we had more than 100 million views per month. And it was something very nice to be part of, with so many channels, with so many ideas. And Ana Paula Xongani, oh, she's such a nice person. I love her. Ana Paula Xongani, she talks about being a Black mom and an entrepreneur. She's so nice, and she has millions of followers. And I mean, I love this girl. I mean, I love all of them. I mean, there's nobody that's like, oh, I don't like. Oh, some people I have less contact, but I pretty much like all of these people. Gabi de Oliveira, look at her. Gabi de Oliveira, such a nice person, such a nice girl. I'm so happy to be part. Oh, look at her numbers. She has big number, 500,000 subscribers. Oh, it's so nice. So nice to have her. Oh my gosh, she has a new hair. Nice.
No, this is from 2017.
It's 2017. Okay, this is old. But yeah, we started this movement online, and we started to talk about the story of Black people, and also empowering people, giving people some advices. And that's it. So I was part of this movement. And if you go today to Google and you look like influenciadores negros digitais, you're going to see our names there. And I became like a diversity strategist, diversity consultant for big companies such as Coca-Cola, Global Condé Nast, that owns, by the way, GQ, Vogue, Casa Vogue, and so many other TV, Glamour magazine. So I became like, from those people, probably I was the only one I specialized actually in working with marketing and bringing business ideas with the Black community. So I think from that group, I was the only one that became like an entrepreneur to talk about that, negotiating with big companies and big brands. Although all of these people are very competent and are doing their jobs and pretty much involved in marketing. I mean, being like the face of a brand or working with some brands as partners. But
so we actually have a great question from Jorginho. Jorginho, is that your real name? Jorginho Charles. He asked, what do Black Brazilians see from American Black media that they can take and apply to their media, or things that they should do differently? And like, if you have any questions, we're winding down our interview, but if you have any questions, please post them in the comments so we can ask them. But so what do you think, AD Jr.? What what do Black Brazilians, what are they taking from American media and what are they not taking?
What Black Brazilians take from the American media is pretty much of the glamour, music and dance, and and the energetic way to entertain, and also this idea of empowerment, which is very good. I really like this. I think it's amazing. But what they would do different, they would do a lot of things different because they are talking to another specific group that lately is understanding how to be Black in a country that always denied our Blackness. So it's not like we're all a group together. You see, so many people in Brazil would say that Black Brazilians would not be considered even Blacks in the 90s. And they're trying to understand now, and they're understanding now they are Black too. So I think it's pretty much like that.
Cool. Any other questions, you guys? I think I have one last question.
Yeah. So nice.
Who, and you actually listed quite a few interesting Black YouTubers already, but in your opinion, how can Americans, or people, obviously not, our audience is not just Americans, but how can people outside of Brazil consume Black Brazilian media? Like, where should we start? Obviously, sometimes there's a language barrier, but who can we start with? Like,
with Trace, come to Trace.
Of course, Trace.
But yeah,
start with Trace. Who else do we consume? Are there any Black Brazilians in addition to yourself who do content?
Yes, I did.
English, French?
Oh, English is kind of different and difficult because we don't. Most of Black Brazilians don't. 5% of Brazilian population speak English, and so you see, you have less than that being Black from those fluent in English. So, funnily enough, with all the mistakes I commit in English, I still speak pretty good English if you can compare to most of white and Black Brazilians in the country.
You speak perfect English, okay?
No, I'm not fishing for compliments. I'm just saying that although this way to speak is a little slower and such, I'm still an advantage with most Brazilians because they didn't even have the opportunity to get the formal education. Imagine to learn a second language. So,
and actually, that's a reason why this series that we're doing. Basically, my goal is to interview amazing Black Brazilians in English. Now, I want to interview amazing Black Brazilians who don't even speak English, but I got to get my points together so I can get it translated. But but that's why this series is so important, because I want people who speak English, Americans, African Americans, to be exposed to what you in Brazil. We need to hear more about you guys. So
yeah, and I think if I would have to say something to my American fellow friends in Black African Americans, it's like, don't look at us like we're so different. We're pretty much the same. We suffered the same oppression from the police. We are in the same page. All of our ancestors were brought to Brazil as slaves. We have that in common. Okay? Sometimes we forget where we started. Our story in the Americas started because some white folks decided that we will be only good enough to produce wealth for them. And after slavery abolished, they started shooting us all. So think about this. Just look at us with a little more of compassion, because we Black people, we look at you guys and we respect a lot of what you've been going through, but we also need a little bit of more understanding from other people, because if they don't understand what we speak, how we talk, they think it's just about the samba, the caipirinhas, and the fun. But
there's
a lot of suffering there. They kill even Marielle Franco, which was one of our brightest and best Black representatives in the Senate and in the Senate, in a parliament. It wasn't Senate, it was parliament. She was a deputy of a state of Rio de Janeiro, and she was killed. João Pedro was killed yesterday. My cousin was shot with 6 bullets in his head. The oppression that we are suffering in the Americas is because, to be quite honest, we don't belong here in the Americas. But it's another discussion. Where are we gonna go then? If we are diasporic Black people, they're not accepted here. The reason why we have to fight for the right to even vote, or fight for the right to even make jogging, as Ahmad was doing on his neighborhood, the idea of a Black man just running in his neighborhood to exercise, it's not different from other ideas. But because we are here for 400 years or more, we don't know where to go. That we have in common. That we have in common. And if I could say something for you, Black Americans, if we fight together, we can do stuff. Call me.
One more question, and I don't know if you can actually answer this question from Safari254. How is Afrobeats received in Brazil?
Oh,
do you know?
very well. Afrobeats. Brazilians love Afrobeats. We do. We really love it. Trace is going to bring more of the story of Afrobeats for Black Brazilians to understand more, and more songs as well. But yeah, Afrobeats is very well known in Brazil. It's I think it's worldwide very well known.
Okay, we ain't got no more questions. Do you have any? I think you said your last comment, 80
Yes,
Junior.
I did.
I know you're like busy. You're a busy man. You got like lives all day.
No, I don't have lives all day. Before I was talking to you, I was just talking to the board of Trace. So I switched from business management to something else. Let me show you this very quick.
Okay.
This is what I'm supposed to do.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So I'm pretty much like this, but I'm very glad to be here, because I think we need to support each other, and everything you ask me, I do. So
thank you so much. And I know when you live too. I need to get up on your channel. But don't be asking me to do a live when I'm like, I have no makeup, my hair is all crazy.
Oh no. Yeah, and actually, if you want to hear from us a little bit more, we're gonna go now, Kiratiana, to my Instagram. I'm gonna talk on my Instagram a little bit, because I'm gonna talk to you on my Instagram right now.
Okay, we're doing it now. We're doing it now. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.